Hi everybody, I'm Greg Fishel. Welcome to bonus weather video number 3 for this week, and we're going to be talking about sort of a feedback process, if you will, that is definitely going to come into play with our big storm on Sunday and Sunday night. And so let's go on ahead and get started here. And I promise this will not be anywhere near as math intensive as the last bonus weather video. So we're taking a look here at lows, fronts, isotherms, and upper air waves, okay? So we're going to start off with 6 isotherms. So isotherms are lines of equal temperature. We're going to denote them as T1, T2, all the way through T6. Now, the fronts in our world are always located on the warm side of the boundary. In other words, all of the temperature contrast is to the north of the front. In this case, it's a stationary front, and that's denoted by the alternating blue triangles and red semicircles. So south of the front, the air mass is more or less uniformly warm, and then north of the front, it gets progressively colder as you go north. So that's why we call this a frontal zone, okay? A front is the leading edge of the temperature contrast, but the frontal zone is this entire region here where it gradually gets colder as you get farther and farther into the cold air. Okay, so now let's imagine in the upper atmosphere, we've got a little wave here, okay? And remember when we talked about vorticity, that vorticity was the amount of spin, and that the more curvature there was in the flow, the more vorticity there was. And if you were advecting or moving higher levels of vorticity toward you in the flow, then that would induce upward motion, okay? So here we have this wave with enough curvature to notice here. And so it begins to interact with this front, and there's generally a low pressure all the way along this front. And so what happens is that wave induces the development of an area of low pressure right along that front. Now, we all know that in the northern hemisphere, the winds blow in a counterclockwise manner around lows. So once that low forms, then it's going to start to change the nature of that stationary front, and it's going to start moving the isotherms around. So let's move on ahead here to the next situation where we've got our low. Now, because of the counterclockwise flow around the low, cold air begins to advance southward to the west of the center, and warm air begins to advance northward to the east of the center. And so now our isotherms, instead of being straight, are curved quite a bit, with the cold air coming southward here. So the isotherms are moving south, and then the isotherms are moving north here, okay? And when this cold air begins to sink southward to the west of the low center, it then interacts with that upper air wave and starts to strengthen it. And so now, instead of the curvature being modest, now we've got some really sharp curvature in this upper level wave. And so that means we have more vorticity, and that means we have more vorticity advection, which means more upward motion, which then strengthens the low. And so the circulation around the low becomes stronger, and so it drives the colder air even farther south to the west of the center, and the warm air even farther north to the east, and that then, the cold air coming in here strengthens the wave, more curvature, more vorticity advection, more upward motion, and the low intensifies, and the two just keep interacting. Now eventually, what happens is that the low will actually migrate back into the cold air, so it no longer is along the zone of temperature contrast, and at that point it's pretty much lost its source of energy, and so the pressures begin to rise in the middle of the low, and the low weakens. But what we're going to be seeing on Sunday and Sunday evening is that the wave, or the low, is going to continue to amplify the wave, which will then amplify the low, which will then amplify the wave, and the pressures in the middle of this low should get pretty darn low by the time we get to Sunday night and Monday, although by that time the low will be well north of us. All right, so I hope that makes a little bit of sense. We will see all sorts of interaction between the lower atmosphere and the upper atmosphere on Sunday. That is the bonus weather video for today. The next one will be coming up next Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday is when we do those. And again, I may do a special video on Sunday morning or sometime during the day Sunday down here from Myrtle Beach if the waves are as significant as it appears they will be, and the winds are as significant and the rain is as significant, might be quite a bit of fun to be out in the middle of that. So we'll see. Stay tuned. Definitely let you know if I decide to do that. Okay, folks, that's it for now. You have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you again maybe as early as Sunday. Take care.